Please, let me take a picture now, just before I forget. It looks nice when there's people. Nah, but oh, something funny. It's really cold here. I just came back from Peru, and it's super hot in the place that I was. It's probably 105, 90s, and look where we are now. And you know how we are. I was complaining the whole time I was there, and now I'm complaining the whole time I'm here. So we're never happy. But that's a human nature, and that's why we have to battle with our own humanity. And the things that we're talking about this week, it has to be with our humanity as well. We don't like to do the things the way that God designed it. We like to do the things the way that we want. And that's why a lot of times we are in trouble. We get into trouble because we don't want to obey what God says. We're going to open up our Bibles again in the book of 1 Corinthians 14:40. That's not even the message. I'm just going to start again in there. And I'm not going to re-preach what I preached yesterday. I'm just going to do a little summary of what I taught yesterday, so the people that were not here can actually have an idea what's happening. And today, I'm going to try to finish the message that I started yesterday. And since the pastor said that maybe we're not coming back tomorrow, we're staying here all day until tomorrow. That way, you cannot come back if you never left, right? So don't worry. I'm going to let you go home. Don't worry. But 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40. If you have it, if you're physically able, I'm going to ask you to please stand up while we're reading the scripture. Brother Matthew, would you please read it for us? Thank you, brother. Let's pray. Father, again, we thank you for how good you are to us. Thank you for let us be here. Thank you for your word and for the things that you want us to learn. I ask you, Father, to help me deliver your word the way that is pleasing to you. Not what I want to say, not what these people want to hear, but what you want us to know. Help us to be edified, Father. Help us glorify your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please be seated. Now, again, yesterday I started a message with this phrase, what we just look at it here. Let all things be done decently and in order. Now, God He gave us the design and how we're supposed to conduct our families. Everybody in the family, we have our own roles. Yesterday, I was talking about the roles as a guy, as a man in the family. What is one of the roles that as a man we have in the family? Well, we have to lead our family. It's our job to lead our family, to show them what the way is. We're supposed to lead our families spiritually. We're supposed to protect our family emotionally and also physically. A lot of times we don't understand how much impact a father has on his kids. A lot of times when when we have our little babies, we see them and we think, oh, how cute they are, Every baby's cute. Well, not every baby, but most babies are. But you look at the babies and you say, oh, that poor baby. I'm never going to correct that baby. And if you don't do it, one day he's going to have to pay the price for that. You're supposed to protect them emotionally, physically, take care of them. You're also supposed to provide for your family faithfully. Now, like I was trying to explain yesterday, provide doesn't mean that you're always going to give them whatever they want. Because there's a difference between the things that you want and the things that you need. And let me tell you something. A lot of times, we want things that are just nonsense. Hey, I need a new pair of shoes. My wife always makes fun of me because I like buying new shoes because I use them, right? It's not that I have a collection of 100 pairs of shoes. I got 99. It's different. But, the thing is, one thing is what you need, and another thing is what you want. And ladies, let me tell you something. A lot of times when you're asking something to your husband, he wants to give it to you, but a lot of times he can't. That doesn't mean that he's not providing. Just at this time, he can't. And that's why I was telling the other day too, it's so important to share with your wife in what position you are today financially. A lot of times we don't want to tell them because I don't want to worry my wife too much. I don't want to let her know that we don't have the means to do whatever she needs or she wants to do. But when you don't tell her, you're not making her participant of what's happening. And that's wrong. Because you need your wife to pray for you, to pray with you, but also to help you to control the finances. It's one of those things that you have to do. When I was younger, again, I said younger, not young because I'm still young, but when I was younger, I came to this conclusion and said to I'm never going to tell my wife where we are financially. And it was a bad thing because she never knew what can we get or not. And then we got more kids, and you know how it is. Kids, for some reason, they want to eat every day. I don't know why. A lot of times, 3 times a day. And we want to give the best we can to our kids. A lot of times, you simply can't. You just have to make do. It will be a completely different story if I don't want to provide for my family. I'm not saying that you have to give your kids every day T-bones and tomahawks. It will be nice, but I'm not saying that you have to do that. But provide their food. That's your job. But also, our job as a man is to love our family, our wife and kids sacrificially. We're supposed to sacrifice for them. Even in things that we think that is, this is me, this is how you met me, that you have to accept that. Wait a second. The day that you ask somebody to marry you, that day you're saying, I'm basically renouncing to myself to give myself to you. I know people that, I don't like that. It doesn't matter. The best example for sacrificial love is Jesus. He gave his life so we can have life. Now, after that, I talked yesterday about the roles of the ladies in the family. Now, believe it or not, the ladies have a lot of roles too. The first one, and the ones that men like the most, is that you're supposed to submit to your husband. Oh, I know, ladies. Where are the rocks to throw to this guy? No, wait a second. Let me explain to you what that means. Yesterday I told you, it's not that you are under him, that you are less than him, but again, he has a responsibility of give account for you. Your job is to grab him and stay with him. Look, a lot of times we don't like that. And the world that we live in right now, everybody's telling you, no, you're supposed to be empowered. That's a lie from Satan. I'm telling you, I know a lot of people. I've been around, and I always heard from ladies saying, man, I wish I was married and have kids. And I know people, no, I don't want that. Wait a second. One day you're going to be old enough to notice that that's what you wanted. You know why you want that? Because it's natural. That's why the Lord created ladies the way he did. I know you don't like that. Don't worry. I'm leaving soon, so you have to deal with the pastor. Your responsibility as a wife, as a lady, is to support your husband's leadership. Not to make him less, not to always go against his leadership, but actually to support him. Not for you to be the head or the neck, like somebody wants to say, right? Yeah, he's the head, but I'm the neck. It's to support his leadership. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot give him counsel or advice. You can also tell what you're thinking, but at the end of the day, he's got a responsibility of making the decisions. And a lot of times we think, yeah, but he's not mature enough to make the decisions. Hey, he made a decision to marry you. Sorry. Second, bring wisdom and balance in the family. Yep, man, we're not too wise sometimes. We want to act like we are, but a lot of times we're not. Like, for instance, you go to somewhere and you see something that you want, a new toy. Like I was saying yesterday, man, we never stop buying toys. They just get more expensive. That's reality. You know, before we buy a little car, now we want a real car. And that's when you need your wife to tell you, hey, dog, I'm sorry, brother. That's when you need your wife to tell you, It's not the time. It's not the time. We don't need it. That is, Brother Doug is saying, oh man, I wish I didn't come tonight. That's what they bring wisdom. Because a lot of times they are the ones that are looking the big picture. We're just looking at it, but I want it. And balance. You know, women, you are the ones that are going to bring balance to your homes too. We as men, they want to do everything like that. Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And the ladies sometimes will just wait a second. Take your time, just breathe. And then you realize that that thing that you wanted to get, or that thing that you wanted to do, was not even important. That's why we need our wives. That's why we need the women in the house. Third, the ladies also says the spiritual atmosphere of the home. Because they are the ones that are spending more time with the kids. You are working all day long. Like I was saying yesterday, just an example. Maybe you don't want to get together with your family and read the Bible together. But when your wife comes and say, hey, we need to read the Bible, I believe you're not going to say no. And I told you that's happened in my family too. I'm busy. I'm tired. I don't want to be dealing with the kids. And then my wife said, hey, are we going to read our Bibles? Okay. And I'm a missionary. Believe it or not, that's your job too. You're not commanding him. You're just telling, hey, it's something that we need to do. But also, ladies, you build stability and peace at the house. Look, when you got this balance, there's a stability. Your kids will grow up knowing that they have those two people in the house that they can trust to. And when there's people following the design that God left, there's peace. Everywhere that God is working, there's peace. Look, I'm going to talk about this, if the Lord allows me, in the future, and how to resolve conflict. That's a very good topic as well. But one thing that I want to tell you too, ladies, one of the most important thing is you should build your home, not destroy it. A lot of times, and I'm not saying that it happens to you, and if it does, don't say anything, just do like that. But a lot of times, ladies, they try to take control of everything. In a sense of, but that is wrong. What you're doing right now is wrong. That's not the way they're supposed to do it. I know, because I'm studying to be a good wife. And then one day, and I'm telling you something that I saw at a keep-up. I'm not going to say names, and maybe the people there will be watching this and going to say, oh, the pastor is telling our secrets. I am, but anyway. This lady will go to her husband, and the guy was not even a believer. And this lady was in church for years. And one day her husband, he comes to me and says, Pastor, I want to ask you a favor. And the whole thing that this lady said about her husband was, my husband is a horrible person. So we believe that the guy was a horrible person. But this guy came to me and said, Pastor, I need to ask you a favor. It's going to be my wife's birthday. And I said, okay. What do I do with that? Well, I'm gonna throw her a surprise party. I thought you were horrible, man. And yeah, please, can you take my wife with your wife and go visit somebody while everybody from church is coming to my house, and we're gonna have a surprise party for her. Can you please do that? And I said, well, I guess. Okay, let's do that. So we went there, and I'm calling the guys. Hey, we're ready? No, just please give it 30 more minutes. Oh, come on, man. I don't even like your wife, but okay, let's do it. So we were there going around, and then we both went back home to his house. And I said, and I had to come up with something for me to get into the house. Because normally we will just leave her there. And I think my wife said, I need to use the bathroom or something, whatever. The guy opens the door. He's wearing a suit jacket, a tie, and with a big smile, opening the door for his wife, the believer. And he's about to say surprise. And she's like, I told you I didn't want anything like that. all I want is for you to be saved. Yeah. You're going to convince him that way. I go to church every day to learn how to be a good wife. Let me ask you a question. You really think it works? It doesn't. That's why everything needs to be done in order. If we don't learn our place, our roles, our responsibilities, we're not going to do it. And if we don't do it, we're not going to produce the impact that we want to produce in the people around us. So, ladies, are you fulfilling your role? Now, that was just a summarize from yesterday. Now we're going to go with today's message, all right? I wasn't even preaching yet. Now, today, we're going to talk about the role of children. And it's good I have a lot of kids today here. I'm going to preach to you. Roles of children. Now, a lot of times we don't understand that kids, your role is not to rule the house. I'm sorry. You know, we live in a society now that every time the parents go to the kid, are you okay with going to bed at 9? Wait, what? Go to bed. Are you okay with letting borrow your toy to your friend? Are you okay? Since when we're going to ask them what to do? Let me tell you something else. I'm sorry if this is a cultural thing. Maybe it is. But where I come from, we respect the old people. I'm telling you, we respect elders. In fact, in our language, we have a specific type of language to show respect. Have you noticed that sometimes kids go to somebody older and they start calling by their first name? It hurts me because I'm not used to that. I'm even calling Brother Brian, because you're obviously older than me, brother. Now, we're the same age. But anyway, have you noticed how in the schools, the teachers, they will not let you call them Dirk? You have to call them Mr. by their last name, right? You know why? Respect. Respect. It's not a bad thing to respect the older. It's not a bad thing to show respect. And I understand that a lot of times we're trying to be approachable. We're trying to be, hey, I want to have a relationship with you that you can come to me and you can have that. But respect, if we don't teach that to our kids, nobody's going to do it. And if they don't respect us as their parents, they're not going to respect the Lord either. I'm serious. One day, somebody came to my house. It was actually my wife's niece, not mine, just yours. And she started calling Kathy. And like I said yesterday, my wife's face has subtitles. She probably will not tell you, but you can tell what she's thinking. She looked at that little girl and said, "What? Kathy?" And she was, "I'm not Kathy to you." "Well, but that's your name, right?" "I'm Aunt Kathy." Okay. From that day on, that's what she called her. Have you noticed now how even your kids sometimes they want to call you by your first, and I cannot do that. I'm not telling you that you have to call your parents father, mother, no. But at least dad, mom. There's a title in front of it. It seems like a little bitty thing. It's not even important, but it is. It is. You don't go to the Lord and say, "Hey, God." You always go, "Father, dear Lord." Why? Because you're showing respect. In Ephesians chapter 6, if you go there, please. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 to 3. We're going to see there's several things in there, so you can go there. Brother Derek, will you please read it for us from 1 to verse 3? slow so we can understand what you're reading. Okay, I love those verses. Children, obey. Obey your parents in the Lord. Somebody came to me yesterday and we were talking about that. When we are little kids, our parents are our superheroes. Have you noticed that? My dad is Superman. Why? He jumped one day from the third floor and he didn't die. So yeah, he might be. You think that your parents are superheroes, that they can do everything. That's when you're little kids. Then you grow up a little more. And you start thinking, oh, my dad doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. I'm going to college. He never went to college. I'm smart. But then you get to an age that you start thinking, whoa, now I understand why my dad was saying that. Look, kids, when your parents are telling you something, they're not just saying because they want to say it. It's because they know. They know. And they don't want you to go through the same things that they maybe did before, they went through. Because they love you. When they're telling you, you don't want to go out when it's freezing outside, it's because they know. I got 7 kids. Well, 8 kids. Sorry. Hey, the last one is brand new, so that's why I forget. But I got 8 kids. My oldest, Andy, I'm sorry, and I always try to use Andy as an example, bad example, but I use him anyway. He was 6 months old, and we're working in Lima, in Peru. We're working, translating things, whatever. And Andy was sitting in those walkers, you know how they are, 6 months, 7 months, something like that, doesn't matter. And he was going around in that little thing because we both were working, and he was eating the paint from the wall. That explains a lot. I know. But he was eating that paint. You know, it's peeling, and we tell him, no. You think I said no because I'm mean to him? No. I know that that's poison. He could die. You know what he did? He cried for a little bit, and then he went back to try to eat it. And he ate it. 3 times he did it. The third time, I don't want this to sound that I spank him. Guess what? He didn't do it again. I heard cases in Peru of kids dying for eating that paint. I know that it's bad for you. I know. When your parents are telling you something, listen to it. Look, the only ones that are going to correct you and educate you with love are your parents. No, the government doesn't care. People outside doesn't care. You're only special to your parents. I'm serious. You know how it is, right? My kid is special. Oh, to you. Nobody else cares. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you love them. We love our kids or whatever. But the only ones that actually, truly care for you is your parents. They know what's best for you. Obey your parents in the Lord. Remember yesterday, that's why I was telling you it's so important that you as parents are following the Lord. So when you're trying to educate, teach something to your kids, they will know that you are following what God says. And even if they don't like it, you know what's best. Notice what it says there. For this is right. It's not just that we want to control our kids. You know, you need to understand something. The reason that we have kids is not that we are investing in our future. It's just to prepare them to love the Lord, to serve the Lord, and to send them to this world. They're just with us for a moment. And by the way, I'm not saying that my kids are going to be perfect. They're not. But my job is to teach them. I cannot say anything to them when they are gone. I can advise them. I can give them counsel. But they're going to have to make their own decisions. Kids, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Verse 2. Honor thy father and mother. That's the word. What does honor mean? What does that mean? It's not just to say, I honor you, father or mother. Respect, love, obedience. Like I was telling you before in the first part. How do you show respect to your parents? Look, my last name is Matsuda. Matsuda, however you want to. There's one guy who calls me Materazzi. That's your cousin, right? That's my last name. We're not too many in the world with that last name. That's why I have a lot of kids. I want to try to make my name go around. But you know that everybody that knows me will know my kids sometime, at some point maybe. And everybody that knows them, they're going to know who their parents are. Oh, are you Brother Daniel's son? Oh, yeah. Oh, how horrible job he did with you. Will that be nice? Will that be that he's honoring me? That would be embarrassing. In Spanish, we have a word that is called malcriado. In English, we translate that to brat. Oh, your kid's a brat. I like the word in Spanish better. Malcriado is two words. Mal, badly, criado, raised. Badly raised. You know, when you see a kid that is badly raised, it's not his fault. It's my fault. Because I'm the one raising him. I'm the one who's supposed to teach to be respectful. I'm the one who's supposed to teach him what to do, what not to do. And kids, you want to honor your parents. You want to bring them honor. You know how it is when we're little kids and we make those ridiculous pictures, a square with arms going from everywhere. That, mommy, that's you. Okay. You know what the kid is looking for? He's looking for how do you say that? Approbation? Approval, affirmation. Thank you, brother. That's what he's looking for. And you're trying to do that for the parents to say, that's beautiful, that's nice. It's horrible, but that's what I want to hear. Don't you think that we're supposed to live our lives the same way? When we're talking about the real children of God, we're supposed to bring him honor. Hey, family is a picture of that. Our kids supposed to bring us honor. But they're not going to do it naturally. We have to teach them. So again, this thing about calling by the first name, I don't know if it's a cultural thing. If you want to do it, do it. I'm not going to tell what to do, not to do. But I tell my kids, when you're talking to an elder, at least say brother. Brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so. Because that shows respect. I don't want to go around and hear that my kids are being called, oh, those are the Matsuda kids. Oh, they're horrible. Honor your parents. Respect. Love is another thing. You know, a lot of times, little kids don't understand what love is. If you ask a kid, why do you love your dad? You know what the first answer will be? Because he buys me presents. Yes or not? That's what they say. Because he buys me presents. Why do you love your mom? No, I don't, because she spanks me. They don't understand what love is. But one day they will. If we don't show them what love is, how are they going to know? Kids, you're supposed to love your parents. You're supposed to love them. And I know a lot of times, as parents, we don't do a good job raising them because a lot of times we don't know what we're doing. If we're honest with ourselves, we don't know what we're doing a lot of times. If you didn't grow up with your dad, if you didn't grow up with your mom, you're just trying to figure it out. See what God says. Understand what He's telling you, how you're supposed to raise your kids. And I'm going to talk about that in another message if the Lord allows. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Look, He says that if we do that, we honor our parents, we're going to have longer days. In other words, He said, I will bless you if you do it. And I'm going to be a little, not sarcastic, cynical right now. A lot of times, our parents don't deserve it. They don't deserve for us to love them. Let me tell you my story real quick. I was 8 years old and my dad left the house. When I was 9, he came back. When I was 10, he left again. When I was 11, he had a stroke. He came back to our house for us to take care of him. You really think I love my dad? You can imagine how it was. Nope, I didn't. He didn't deserve it. I had a horrible relationship with my dad and my mom. But remember again how the Lord loved you? He didn't love you for who you were. He didn't love you for something that you did. He didn't love you because you deserve it. He loved us in spite of who we were. So when we're talking about love our parents, we love them just because God says that we're supposed to do it. By grace. I love grace. If it wasn't by the grace of the Lord, where would we be right now? Honor your mother and your father. Look, I could say a lot more than that, but let me keep going on. If we don't teach our kids to obey at home, they will not know how to obey the Lord later. We live in a society now, in a cultural time, if you want, that we're trying to tell the kids that they can do whatever they want. One day, we invited a family to our house. And if you know my family, we got a set of rules. There's the things that the kids can do. There's the things they cannot do. My kids know that if we have decoration around the house, they're not allowed to touch it. They might break it. Makes sense, right? But then this family came to visit us. I really want to play piñata with one of those kids. This kid was going everywhere, trying to touch everything. And I was like, and the mom was, oh, he's such a curious little boy. He's just exploring. I was, please grab your explorer and get out of my house. People might think, oh, he's so mean, he's so bad. But if we don't teach our kids to obey, who is going to do it? Again, you can think that he's cute. You can think that he's nice. Hey, but there's somebody else's things. I like to collect things. If you know me, I like to collect little cars. I like to collect a bunch of stuff, right, brother? The spoons, I think they're still there in that place. But I like to collect stuff. And they're expensive. It takes money. It takes my effort. It takes things that I want, I like. I don't want anybody to come and grab it and just destroy it. But you need to understand their kids. No, he needs to learn boundaries. He needs to learn no. We live in a world that people say, no, don't tell them no. They're going to grow up traumatized. Have you heard that? Psychologists will come to you. Oh, this pastor, he's horrible. He's an abusive person. Wait a second. You know that the only one who's going to teach your kids to obey with love is going to be you? Because they're going to grow up later And I almost say they're going to become Democrats. I didn't say that, okay? But they're going to grow up one day. They're going to grow up one day, and they're going to think that they can do whatever. I was reading about, I'm sorry, I shouldn't make politics here, but I was just reading about this guy. He's a YouTuber, and he went to the Philippines. I don't even know his name. I don't care. But his whole thing was that he was making fun of old ladies, trying to take away things from the police officers in the street. He thinks it was funny. He thinks it was cute. He thinks it was okay to do all these nonsensical things. They put him in jail. 9 months he was in jail. He just got out, and he's completely insane. And people, oh, poor guy. No. He brought it to himself. You know, the only one who's going to teach your kids to obey with love is you. The police is not going to do it with love. I'm serious. The police is not going to show them love. You will. So do it. Teach them to obey. And you know, and again, I'm going ahead to myself. I have a whole thing about educating kids. But one thing that I want you to know, how we're supposed to educate our kids to learn how to obey. A lot of times we don't really understand how to do that. One thing that we have to do is to be consistent about it. Like for instance, if I said to my kid, hey, Artie, can you pass me, I'm sorry, you are not allowed to touch the heater that we have in the house. He's not allowed to touch that, right? You already heard me that. He already heard what I said. And I said, if you do that, you're going to get burned. So don't touch it. But one day, I saw him that he's going, and I don't say anything. What message I'm telling him there? Well, he's going to get confused. So is it okay? It's not okay? What is it? Hey, no, don't touch it. Because I know that you're going to get hurt. And I'm going to explain more of that in the future, so I don't want to get too much in there. I'm not going to have another message to preach if I do it. Obey. Learn to obey because it's right. In Colossians chapter 3, you can see also there, it talks about the same thing. Colossians chapter 3, verse 20. Now, here it's a little more than what I'm telling you now. Brother Tyler, would you please read it for us? Verse 20. Oh, don't worry, brother. Brother Brian will read it. In how many things the kids should obey their parents, brother? Oh, all things? Is that what your Bible says? Yep. No, but I don't want to obey in this part. Who told you they have the choice? Obey in all things, even in the things that make no sense to you. One day, my wife's uncle was playing by the train tracks. You know where the story is going, right? He was a teenager, little kid, like 6, 7, 8, a little kid. And he couldn't hear that the train was coming in the other direction. Can you imagine that? Your kid is playing by the train tracks. And his dad comes, and he noticed that the train was coming. And he just told to his son, Ben, lay down. The kid looked at the dad, and he just lay down. The story that I heard is that the poor grandpa, he was thinking, oh, my son is dead. My son is dead. He died. The whole train passed. And then he got up. And he looked at his dad. Now think this for a moment. You go to a kid today. And you tell him, lay down. Why? Why? And what drives me crazy is that the parents are taking the time to explain, because the train is going to come, is going to keep. He's gone. You know what I'm saying? You're really going to take the time to explain? And that's what we're trying to do then, because they need to understand why he's doing what he's doing. No, he needs to understand that he needs to obey in all things. But that's the world that we live in. We need to explain the little kid, no, you don't want to put your finger in the electricity. Let him do it once. It's going to be the only time he does it. By the way, don't do it. But we really are trying to explain them. Hey, when they're little kids, they're not going to understand. They just need to know that they need to obey. That's all. You're going to tell because 110 volts are going to come through your body. They're not going to understand. Children, obey your parents in all things. For this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Look, we need to teach our kids that the reason that they need to obey is because God says that they need to obey. We need to teach our kids the fear to God. We need to teach them. Nobody else is going to do it. Guys, Sunday school is not going to do it. The pastor is not going to do it. You have to do it. Another thing that drives me crazy a lot of times, we work with a lot of kids in Peru as well. And almost every time that some parents want to cause problems, they will come to talk to the pastor in the church. Pastor, my son or my daughter, they're being so rebellious. They're so disobedient. They're so bad. Is that why you're teaching them at church? And me being the guy that I am, very softly spoken, I just said, no. That's why you teach him. We're trying to exercise your kid. You're the one who's teaching him that. You're the one who's teaching to be disobedient. You're the one who's teaching to not respect anybody. We're trying to fix him. But we can't. You got to do it. I know it's hard. But it's our job as parents. Kids, obey your parents. The reason that they tell you a bunch of things is because they love you. One day you're going to be gone. Your parents are not going to be in the picture anymore, and you're going to realize, I wish I heard my dad. I wish I heard my mom. I wish I obeyed. I come across with a lot of kids trying to say, yeah, but I want to make my own mistakes so I can understand what it is. And I say, how foolish that is. Every decision that we make will have consequences. Your parents know what those consequences are. And they're trying to avoid you all the tears that you will have to shed in the future. Just obey. Just obey. In Proverbs chapter 1, I'm sorry, I'm not even looking at the time. Oh, right, we're staying until tomorrow. So Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8 and 9. Brother Tyler, now you can read for us, please. Hear the instruction of thy father. Hear what he has to say. Again, as men, we got a great responsibility with our kids. We're supposed to instruct our kids. Hear the instruction. Kids, believe it or not, we as parents, we want you, kids, to have a better life than we ever had. Believe it or not, that's what we want for our kids. I'm not competing with my kid. I'm not competing with Andy. He's trying to compete with me. He's not beating me yet. But I'm not competing with him. I'm honestly wants what is best for my kids. So when I'm trying to teach something to my kids, I'm not doing it because I hate them. It's because I love them. When your parents are telling you something, understand my dad, my mom is telling me this because they want me to have a good life. They don't want me to go through what I went what they went when they were kids. Don't be fooled and say, nah, I don't want to hear what they say. Second part of verse 8, and forsake not the law of thy mother, for they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck. In other words, he's saying you should always have it with you. That's why we're supposed to hear what our parents are saying to us, so we can have it with us all the time. Hey, I'm telling you, you guys that are a little older, my age or so, you know that you probably find yourself saying the things that your parents used to say to you. Did it happen to you already or not? It will. I find myself saying things to my kids that my parents used to tell me. At the time, to me, it was a bunch of nothing. But now they make sense. I always quoting what my mom used to say to me. You know that's how is the instruction that we're supposed to bring to our kids. Things that in the future they can also use. And again, our kids don't do what we say. They do what we do. So what are we teaching to our kids? Look, I'm sorry. I'm going to take only a few minutes to say the last point of this message so I can finish this message that I started yesterday. Now, let me talk to you about the responsibility as parents. Okay, in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Brother Brian, would you please? Look, we're not called to raise perfect children. We're called to raise kids that actually understand what God is saying so they can follow Him. A lot of times parents, again, a lot of times we don't know what we're doing. Have you noticed that sometimes we do things against our kids that are not right? It happens. Yes, I said before the kids are supposed to obey their parents and they should obey their parents. But parents, make sure that what you're teaching and doing, it's also correct. A lot of times we don't like to hear that as parents. Because we want to show our kids that we're perfect, that we know everything. No, we don't. And a lot of times we're going to make mistakes. One thing that I learned with the years is that when I make mistake and I'm the parent, I should be mature enough to go to my kid and said, I'm sorry. You know, a lot of parents, we don't want to do that. I don't want to show my kids that I'm wrong, but a lot of times I am. Maybe, you know how it is. When parents are stressed, there's things happening, and you get mad and you start yelling at your kid, and maybe when you have several kids, he's not even responsible for the thing that you're yelling him at. You don't even know what happened. You're yelling one when the one who did the problem was number 3 or 4. But since I'm the parent, I'm not going to say anything to you. No, go and say, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. You know what that shows? Humility. And if you remember, in Ephesians chapter 5, he talks about that we're supposed to submit to one another. That doesn't mean that you're under him. You're just showing that you know how to recognize when you're wrong, that you actually care for your kid. When he's talking about do not provoke your kids to wrath, that's what he's talking about. Because when we correct our kids incorrectly, we do it in the wrong way, what we're bringing is, we're not literally correcting. He's going to obey you. He's going to do what you're saying, but he's not respecting you. For real. He's just doing because you're dad and mom, but he's not doing it with love. It's just like when you're in the army. Some of you guys were in the army. Some of you guys were in the chair force. I'm not going to say who's, so Brother Ashley doesn't feel offended. But, when you have to obey, do they give you a reason why? No. And there's a lot of instructors when you're in the army or something like that you obey and you hate them. And you're thinking, maybe he's going to die with friendly fire. You don't do it, but you think it. But there's some instructors that you actually care for, that you actually respect. When I was in the army, there was a captain. We really liked that guy. He was a very, very honorable guy. One day, they were going to get into a motorcycle in Peru. If you understand what a motocar is, it's a motorcycle with 3 seats in the back. And they use that as a taxi in the jungle of Peru. And there's the captain who's going to be sitting in one spot. There was 3 guys going in that motorcycle. And one of there was an old man. The old man, he was not an officer. He was just, I will say like a sergeant type thing. An officer obviously has higher rank than the sergeant, right? And the sergeant said, no, Captain, please, you sit down. I'll just go. And he said, no, man, you've been in the army longer than me. You're old. You sit down. I'm just going to be here. He shows, even though he has a higher rank, he shows humility. Everybody liked that captain. Everybody loved him. Even the surgeons, they respect that man. He was younger, but he had integrity. You know that's what you want from your kids? You want your kids to love you, to respect you, to obey you, not just because they're afraid of you, but because they love you. I don't want to lay my dad down. I don't want to lay my mom down. I want to bring them honor. But when we are unfair with them, we are provoking our children to wrath. When I'm talking about how to correct our kids, one thing that I got to tell you right now is, don't ever correct your kids when you're angry. It doesn't work. You're going to do things that later on you're going to be regretting. And I'm going to explain to you later about that. I don't want to go ahead of myself. But when we do that, when we do it angry, we are provoking to wrath. We're creating rebellious kids disguised as obedience. They can't wait to leave your house. They can't wait to leave your side. And that's not really what you want from your kids. Again, we're called to raise godly children. Kids that love the Lord, but also love you. And Proverbs 22:6 is one of those verses that everybody knows, and we use that a lot when we're talking about kids. 22, Proverbs 6. Brother Brian, read it again, please. I like this verse, but a lot of times we don't understand this verse. What it says here is, train up a child, in the way he should go. A lot of times we think that this is just that we have to teach our kids some things, and, well, I already teach you, you're supposed to do by yourself. No, when he says in the way, he's talking about a way, a constant path, a long way. I don't suppose just to tell my kid, Andy, this is blue, so this is blue. Well, that doesn't mean anything. But every time when he's learning about the color blue, by the way, Andy already knows what blue is. But when he's learning about that, every time that I see something, oh, look, this is blue. More over there. Oh, that's blue too. He's learning in the way. Same thing with everything else. You don't supposed to tell your kids, hey kids, you need to sit down at church and just leave it there. It's a constant thing. in the way. Hey, you're supposed to obey. It's not just one time. It's in the way. Hey, you need to read your Bible just one time. No, in the way. So when he's saying here, trained up your child in the way, he's talking about the whole time that's under your care. That's when you're training him. Not just one time, but a constant training. Because if you're honest with yourselves, even we forget things. Kids will do it too. We need to keep retraining ourselves with a bunch of stuff. Our kids need it too. Parents, it's our responsibility to train our kids. And it's not just one time. It's not just 2 times. It's a lot of times. You know how it is. Pastor, you probably know. When you give an announcement in church, guys, this week we're going to do this. This is happening this week. I bet you that a lot of people don't even remember what he was talking about. You have to announce it over and over and over. 3 months in advance, you're announcing over and over and over. And then the day comes up and somebody's going to send you a message. Pastor, what were you saying is happening today? It happens or not? What do you think is going to happen with your kids? That training them is not just one time. We're supposed to do it in a way. And again, the best way to train your kid is not just by saying, it's by doing it. And if you see me doing it, now you do it. Again, I love that. I used to love the army. And every time that I remember about those days, it never was, hey, do this, do that. It was, look at me, and then you do it. I love that way of training. You know how it is? Sometimes now you got the PE teacher in school, and they have no physical things to do anything. And he said, now you have to jump here, and then you go that way, and then you go do this, and you're looking at the teacher. You want me to do that? You can't even walk, man. Let me ask you a question. Would you trust him? Hey, show me and I'll do it. It's the same thing with your kids. It doesn't matter if you go to your kids and say, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to obey this, you have to go to church, you have to do this. Hey, wait. The Lord is the more important thing, but it's the Super Bowl. Oh no, I'm going to stay home watching TV. What message are you teaching to your kid right there? You're teaching him in the way that the football is more important. Well, the thing that you guys call football, it's more important than church. That's what you're teaching him. It doesn't matter if you're telling him that God's more important. You're teaching him that thing is more important. You need to respect the rules. But every time that you don't do it, they're looking at you. One thing in Peru that I always tell about this is, people in Peru at least, I don't know how it's here, but when you go buy things, credit, it's not that people have credit cards, but anyway, people go to stores and they ask for credit. Hey, I need to buy a new TV. Can you please, I'll pay you in monthly or whatever. And then when you don't do it, when you don't pay, sometimes the people come to your house, knocking on your door, looking for you so you can pay. That's what they do. And you know what a lot of parents do when they knock on the door? Go tell them I'm not here. Go tell them I'm not here. And the kids go, my daddy says he's not here. That's a joke, but it actually happens. You know what you're teaching your kid? How can you go and tell your kid, say, hey, don't be a liar? How can you if you're lying? Another thing that happens in Peru a lot, when you go to the markets and you want to buy something, and that's how I explained that yesterday, you know how the ladies are. They go and ask, how much is this? In Peru, at least it happens that way. Well, this is $10. Oh, okay, all right, I'll be right back. And then you go to another one and you ask another one, and over there is $8. And the other one is $6. And I was putting that example one day, and a guy comes to me and said, that happens to me, brother. I went to a place and I asked how much that thing was, and they told me $10. I went to another place, and the other place was $6. So I wanted to buy it in the other place. But my son told me, but Dad, you told that lady that you were going back to buy it there. And he said, oh, man, I had to pay $4 more just to teach my kid a lesson. Because how could you tell your kid not to be a liar when you are a liar? Train up your children in the way. They're learning by looking at you. They're not learning what you're saying. And we will love for our kids to learn what we're telling them, right? But they're learning what we're doing. If you are a faithful Christian, your kid has a big chance to be one as well. But if you're not, don't complain later about it. I don't know why my kid doesn't want to come to church anymore. Well, if you're all the time you're criticizing your pastor, if all the time you're talking about everybody in church, if all the time you are just going to church when it's convenient to you, what do you expect your kid's going to learn? Train up a child in the way. It's not talking about just one time. It's talking about constant training. Now, to finish with this, I know you're tired. I'm tired with one chicken. I got it. Ask yourself today something. Am I fulfilling my God-given role? Am I doing what God told me that I'm supposed to do? If you're not, it's not too late to start. Parents, guys, are you leading your home with love? Are you? Am I supporting my family, my wives? Am I supporting my husband, my family with grace? Remember what I told you about that. Not because they deserve it, not because they're good, but by grace. Am I obeying my parents the way that God says that I'm supposed to do? I'm being the parents that my Lord told me that I'm supposed to be to my kids. Look, at the end of the day, we all want the best for our families. But a family will not run correctly if we're not doing each one our job. We got our own roles. We cannot have two heads. We cannot have two doing the same thing. Each one has their own role. It's like a machine. You got different pieces. Imagine a watch. And then one of the gears says that I don't want to be a gear, I want to be a light. Would that work? Each part, even if it looks insignificant, even if it looks like it's a little bit of thing, you have a role in your family. Do what your role is. May God bless you. Brother?